Well, last year we noted that when it came to President Trump, it didn't really matter what the media reported, partly because Trump's attacks on the press were working. Well, here we go again.
The new year began with an explosive new book by Michael Wolff.
If it's a book that brings down this presidency, I'm going to bow to the god of irony.
But despite being a bestseller, that was hardly the case. Bob Woodward's book, Fear, also described the president as erratic, unhinged, and playing the media for fools.
We're being had.
Maybe, but on one topic, the president has been ruthlessly consistent.
The fake news is, in fact, the enemy of the people.
New York Times media critic Jim Rutenberg says the Trump presidency has made denigrating the news media one of its identifying features. And he says it's working, despite pleas from journalists like NBC's Chuck Todd to fight back. Just ask CNN's Jim Acosta.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person.
Acosta lost his White House credentials for a few days over that interaction. And to make matters worse, almost nothing the media reports about Trump seems to make a dent, be it matters of state.
What worries me about you, Mr. President, is you seem to say only good things about your enemies.
Or reporting on issues of personal character, such as the sordid saga of buying the silence of alleged lovers.
Was it hush money to stay silent?
Yes. The story was coming out again.
So don't look for that Michael Wolff wishful thinking to come true.
If it's a book that brings down this presidency, I'm going to bow to the god of irony.
Well, it certainly isn't going to be Michael Wolff's book that brings him down. And that's not really even what we're discussing. The point is that no matter what we've done, no matter what interviews have taken place, you saw Jim Dennehy from Axios asking the president, listen, every time you say the press is the enemy of the people, aren't you inciting some kind of, you saw what happened in Maryland with somebody going into the Maryland Gazette, the Capital Gazette, and killing 5 people? I mean, it's instigated, I think, right from the top, from the president.
It is. But to say that this has had no effect, I think, ignores some of the larger realities that are out there. President Trump is deeply unpopular. It has no effect with the 35 to 38% of the public who are going to be with him no matter what. And I don't think anything will. But that ignores the reality that 62, 65% of the public really is deeply disturbed and upset by what Trump is doing.
But that same 62% or more feels the same way about the news media, or worse.
Well, actually, people trust the media that they use. I mean, surveys show that. When you ask them, do you hate the media? They say, of course I hate the media. But then you ask them about what they actually use, and they like it. You look at the election that we just had, an enormous setback for President Trump and the Republicans. So I don't think that I really agree with you that none of this has had an effect. It's just that, he's still there. He was elected. His term still has 2 more years to go.
I do think the media needs to recalibrate. I've been saying this and thinking this for a long time, that having this warring posture is not productive. It's not getting anywhere, and he's not going to change what he's doing. So the media is going to have to, I think, back off, not take the bait so much, not get into fights in press conferences. I mean, what the media is trusted for when it's trusted is for fact-checking, reporting out beyond what's said at the press conference, and sort of keep on keeping on. Stay off of the, needling him on Twitter, because it's only going to escalate the problem.
It'll be interesting to see if there is a change in the press's MO in the new year. Margaret Sullivan from the Post just wrote this, she re-upped. I think she's made the exhortation previously, other people certainly have, saying, don't put people from the administration who are not telling the truth on your airwaves. Yes. She was focused on Kelly and Conway. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe that takes hold in the year ahead. Fox and Friends just went after Sarah Sanders for her spin on the withdrawal from Syria, with Brian Kilmeade saying, wait a minute, the president's giving Vladimir Putin exactly what he wants. He's doing the same thing that he criticized President Obama for. We haven't seen a lot of pushback from Fox and Friends when it comes to administration voices today, yet there it was just a day or 2 ago. So I think, who knows what's going to happen politically speaking in 2019, but I do feel like we might see a lot of our assumptions about the way business is done upended, and a lot more skepticism applied, or maybe even just administration voices kept at arm's length?
Well, I think what happens is that people come away, to Joanna's point, with a sense that there are more Jim Acostas than there are. And that really is not the work of most people who are doing these fantastic investigative reports. They're just sort of steadily going to get the documents. They're steadily putting out the report. Here are the facts. Now, you can still support him, but here are the facts. And that's what you have to do. So I think to bring down the temperament, that's probably good. I would like to see more, and we say this all the time at this desk, of the White House correspondents just either walk out, or just when they do some Jim Acosta nonsense, more than sort of support him on Twitter or whatever, band together, ask the same question, whatever.
There was not enough solidarity.
It wasn't enough.
No,
it wasn't enough.
It
was not. And it's come up 2 or 3 times, even when Fox has joined in to say, okay, wait a minute, Mr. President, that's not cool. You cannot do that. So we need to see more of that. And I know what happens is people say, well, he doesn't give many press conferences, so it's our only opportunity. That's just not a good enough reason to have the kind of you finally get to him and you sort of lose your mind because you finally get a chance to ask the question that, by the way, he's probably not going to answer anyway. So I think we have to temper ourselves, but at the same time, that good journalism, and there's a lot of it. I'm not talking about Michael Wolff in the book. I'm talking about people cranking out these reports, and it's being supported by a lot more people. To
even,
Dan's point.
All the reporting on what happened with the defense secretary was, it was detailed background.
All the reporting about the Trump Foundation, which is already forgotten about.
Exactly.
I want to push back a little bit on Margaret Sullivan's idea that we shouldn't allow known liars on. Who would she allow on? And right up to the president himself. I mean, I think that we have a real problem here. We have to let administration officials have their say, and we have to do a better job of fact-checking it. I mean, unfortunately, Kellyanne Conway has become a caricature of herself because she lies so much. But who among them doesn't continually
but the problem is,
espouse
get some
falsehoods?
fresh people then.
People like Chris Cuomo, they do it as theater. I mean,
it's like she's auditioning for a romantic comedy with her.
It's shtick with him, and they claim to be good friends. But and it's also, I'm sure, it's a ratings grabber. It's so uncomfortable. I watched that one a couple of weeks ago where they were going at each other. But you almost can't tear yourself away. And it reminds me a little bit, Adam, to what you were saying about not having people on. What happened with Trump, back in 2016, that no one really thought he was going to be elected.
That's right.
Everybody had him on over and over because he was
gold.
theater.
That's right.
Great theater.
Well,
then
the cable news channels have had a hard time finding Trump surrogates. They really have throughout the whole administration and before. They get these kind of straw men, guys who were just going to sort of say the party line, because of the way the conservative movement is split. It's very easy to find a lot of thoughtful anti-Trumpers, and it seems harder for everyone to find thoughtful Trump fans, maybe for obvious reasons.
Or even people who have decided that they, at the last minute, want to do something. I'm looking at Rick Perry the other night, and the reporter is saying, "You are not making any sense by your own words just a moment ago." And he's like, well, that's not really what I'm saying. I mean, come on.
Look ahead again to, I won't do this in our third segment, but look ahead to 2019. If impeachment, if impeachment happens, let's say, or if there are impeachment proceedings, you're going to see all the fights with the press picked by the president and his surrogates in the past couple of years look tame in comparison. That will be one of the primary ways that the administration responds. So then networks will have to decide. Do you want to put on Stephen Miller and have him, just saying things that are patently untrue, screaming at the people interviewing him, or do you take a pass? I disagree with you, Dan, that you have to give the administration a voice. I think you do.
And by the way, that was Rick Santorum, not Rick Perry. Sorry.
Oh, Rick Santorum.
He's
much worse.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying.